Hey, what's happening, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I want to talk about Mike Novogratz. He is a huge crypto bull. Also was a huge backer of Terra Luna. It was interesting because Mike Novogratz gave a presentation out at Bitcoin Miami and talked about Terra Luna. I was there in person. In fact, Mike Novogratz actually has a tattoo, a Terra Luna tattoo on his arm. So he's finally broke his silence and talking about Terra. Some interesting things were said. We're going to talk about it in this video. You're not going to want to miss it. Mike Novogratz, we're going to talk about who he is. Super influential guy and a big crypto bull. So we're going to jump into that. Go ahead and hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And let's dive in. We'll take a look at Terra real quick right now. Trading at the 12,795 level. Down about 8.5% right now. This thing has been trending downwards over the past week or so. We could take a look at the 7-day, more or less consolidating for the last 4 days, but slowly trending downwards. And we were calling this about 5-6 days ago that we were trending down, and this was going to get a little uglier. Now we'll see what happens in the long term. I think Luna still has an opportunity to rekindle the project a little bit. Will it ever get back to where it was heading? Probably not, in my opinion. That's just my humble opinion. But let's dive into Mike Novogratz, because this is a very influential people who stuck his neck out for Luna. This just goes to show you that everybody gets it wrong when it comes to cryptocurrency and when it comes to investing. Anybody who touts themselves as like they're 100% bulletproof when it comes to investing and they're always right, they're wrong. Everybody gets it wrong at one point or another. I mean, look at Terra 3 weeks ago versus Terra now. Who would have forecasted that? Not too many people. There were a ton, and I mean a ton of Terra bulls. So this isn't throwing shade at Mike Novogratz, but I think it's interesting to get his opinion on it, especially after he was so bullish on it for such a long time. So he finally comes out and discusses Luna UST collapse. There is Mike Novogratz. Mike Novogratz, by the way, this is a billionaire, a super successful guy who got it wrong. I mean, this just shows you that nobody gets it right all the time. Literally nobody. Now, as the ripple effects of Luna and UST's demise spread across the market, many members that are the elites in the crypto sphere have started talking about Luna and UST and giving their thoughts. Of course, CZ from Binance has been very vocal in his opinions. Vitalik Buterin and many other big-time investors have stepped up and talked about what had happened. So Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz finally comes out and says some things here about Luna. So this was his entire letter. You can read this from Galaxy Digital HQ on Twitter, but we're not going to read the entire letter, just a couple different quotes here in this video. So there's no good news. This is his quote. There's no good news in what happened in markets or to the Terra ecosystem. In Luna and UST alone, 40 billion of market value was destroyed in a very short amount of time. I'm going to try to add some insights on the ongoing discussion. Novogratz explained that UST was an attempt at creating an algorithmic stablecoin that would live in the digital world, but it was a big idea that failed. So he's under the impression that this was not an attack necessarily, or something that Quan did, thinking it through and how he can screw over everybody in his project. He believes that the algorithmic stablecoin did not work. The idea was there. It was a good idea. Sometimes good ideas just don't work. He added that macro market worries put pressure on Luna reserves, which were not enough to save the ecosystem's downfall, meaning where the overall market was, put this downward pressure on Luna reserves, and eventually it was the downfall of the entire Luna UST ecosystem. He says UST growth had exploded from 18% yield offered in the Anchor protocol. This was a big key factor, which eventually overwhelmed other users of the Terra blockchain. The downward pressure on reserve assets, coupled with UST withdrawals, triggered a stress scenario akin to the run on the bank. This was similar to what I read in the opinion piece in my last Terra Luna video that basically outlined this wasn't a direct attack. And again, just an opinion here. This wasn't a direct attack as much as it was just people taking advantage of a situation. We see it all the time in the markets. People take advantage of the situation for monetary gain. If they see a weakness, if they see a strength that they can utilize in order to invest it, whether it's shorting a stock, longing a stock, or something like this in crypto, People do this all the time in the widespread markets, and that is what Novogratz is saying here. Now, he reiterated some important principles of investing following the Luna UST flash crash. He suggested investors always keep a diversified portfolio. That is something I stress here on the channel each and every day. So many people get wrecked because they get into one particular asset, they go all in on it, and it's something like this, like Luna, and it doesn't work. Imagine if this was only 5 to 10% of your portfolio instead of 90 to 95%, like it was for a lot of people. He suggested investors keep a diversified portfolio, of course, take profits along the way, something else I stress all the time on the channel, and have an apt risk assessment framework. Know that it's money that you can lose. We talk about that all the time on the channel as well. And be mindful of the macro environment. That is something that I can bring to the table. I can't bring a lot of TA. I like to listen to other people who know it and utilize that in my strategy, but I can understand the macro environment. And what he's speaking to here is look at what's going on in the world. Things like this could happen. Start diversifying if you see that you're overloaded in one sector, or if, let's just say you're weighing the profit and you get to this point where we are in the world, we've got all these things happening, inflation, you've got a war going on, you've got all of these negative catalysts. Maybe it's time to start taking some profits and diversify. So I agree with Novogratz here. I'm glad to see him come out and actually talk about this. And I want to know what you guys think about all of this down below. We're still trying to piece together what exactly happened when it comes to Luna and UST. But I like the perspectives we're starting to gather, and we're going to continue to get more and more information as things unfold. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you all in the next video.